At the beginning of the story, Nekozane was sleeping in the class, and the boy who sat next to her, Seno, thought that Nekozane sat next to him in the class and she was always sleeping. Suddenly, someone shouted at her saying, how many times did he have to tell her? But Nekozane was still sleeping. Then the teacher tried to wake her up by beating her with a notebook, but she was still sleeping, so the teacher left her like that. Seno looked at her while thinking that it had been 3 days since they became neighbors, yet he had never seen her face even once. Suddenly, someone from behind said that she was pretty rad. Seno was stuck, and then someone said to him, Seno, you're next to Nekozane, can you remind her? Seno replied with a, and that boy said that the girl really would not wake up once she fell asleep, so Seno just needed to give her a shout every now and then. Seno thought in disbelief, asking himself if he had to remind someone. He wondered if he really had to do that, and with a tense face, he remembered his past, thinking that he had been very timid at a very young age, and even now he still had not had a proper chat with his classmates. The scene shifted to the present, where Seno thought that now he had to remind a girl of all people and wondered if the bar was not too high. He said hesitantly that no, but the boy kept his hand on Seno's shoulder and said that he would leave it to him. Seno hesitated but could not say anything. The scene shifted, and Seno was sitting on the stairs, talking to his friend Takada on a call. Takada asked him if he was seriously stressing over that. Seno said, "What do you mean by that?" Takada laughed and said that he did think for sure Seno would struggle in high school with his personality, but seeing it play out exactly as he imagined was funny. Seno responded with, "Takada, you." Takada continued, asking if Seno did well on his high school debut. Seno was struck by sudden realization, and Takada reminded him that he had put in significant effort, then asked how the first day went. Seno hesitated and said, Takada asked again, eh? Seno, with an embarrassed face, admitted that he got so nervous that he felt sick and ended up in the nurse's room. Seno said that meanwhile the other classmates had already formed groups. While Seno was speaking, Takada kept laughing, and Seno yelled at him not to laugh. Takada laughed even harder and said that he was really laughing his ass off. After that, Takada told Seno to make sure he got himself a friend or two. Seno replied with, ugh. Takada told him it would be fine, to hang in there, because his high school life had just started. Seno looked at the sky and said, yeah. With a smile, he thanked Takada, saying sorry for calling him during break. Takada said it was fine and asked Seno to treat him to a meat bun next time. Seno laughed and agreed, saying, Takada, then mentioned the karaoke tomorrow, suggesting they invite Tanaka and Shibata too. Takada suddenly said he was sorry, he had to go, and hung up. The scene shifted to Seno opening the classroom door. He thought that he would do his best to make a friend too. When he entered, he saw the class was empty and said, huh? He remembered that they were going to a different classroom for the next class. Suddenly, he noticed Nekozane was sleeping in the classroom. Seno thought she would be late if she kept sleeping, so he tried to wake her up, saying that they were going to another classroom and they would be late if she did not hurry. Suddenly, Nekozane grabbed his face with her hand and hugged him. Seno was breathing very fast, shocked, and thought, huh? Eh? What is, huh? Then Nekozane let him go, looked at him with calm eyes without strong emotion, and Seno thought that it was his first time seeing her face. Suddenly, Nekozane said, Masamune, then crashed her head on the bench, muttering Shiratama, before going back to sleep. Seno was totally shocked. The scene shifted to the study room, where Seno wondered what even that was. While looking at a samurai book, he thought that she had just fallen asleep like that. He also wondered about Masamune and Shiratama, asking who that even was and if he was a samurai. He made a third-grade samurai sketch and, looking at the sketch with a scary face, thought maybe it was something like that. He looked back at the empty bench and thought that in the end, Nekozane had not come to class, and she had already gone home when he realized it after school. As he came out from the glass shop, Seno thought about what was up with that girl. Suddenly, he saw a rescue cat boat and thought, huh. Looking upstairs, he realized that the place had a cat cafe on the second floor, and he had not noticed it at all. Suddenly, someone said, hey, from behind, and it was Nekozane. Seno was shocked and said, ni Nekozane while looking at her, and asked if he was interested in this cafe. Inside, Seno was playing with cats, and thought that he had just gone with the flow and ended up there. He wondered if that really was Nekozane earlier, because he had never seen her like that before, and questioned if he had gotten the wrong girl. Nekozane then brought cool drinks for him, and Seno pointed to the can, saying that he did not order it. Nekozane came closer to his face and said, while looking at his eyes, that he had said her name just then, asking who he was and why he knew her name. Seno was shocked and said that it was because they were in the same class and sat next to each other too. Nekozane said, "Is that so?" And Seno confirmed it. Then, her cat called her by meowing, and Nekozane grabbed the cat in her arms, saying, "Didn't you have a snack just a moment ago, Masamune?" Seno thought, "Masamune?" Seeing her hug the cat, Seno realized that she must have thought he was the cat back then because she was half asleep. Seno asked her if she liked cats. Nekozane, with an emotionless look, said that cats were noble creatures superior to humans. Seno thought that was a bold statement. Nekozane continued, saying that the one she was holding was Masamune, named because he looked like he was wearing an eye patch. She pointed to another cat and said that this one was Shiratama, the naughtiest one since he liked to tear up the sofa. Seno thought that she had suddenly gotten talkative. Nekozane continued, saying that another one was Kinako, who threw up the most. Seno reacted, saying in disbelief that she threw up a lot. With an awkward smile, he said that taking care of them must be rough. Nekozane, hugging her cat with a smile, said, "Not at all." Seno was shocked, thinking that he did not know she could make such an expression. Then Nekozane said, more importantly. Seno immediately gave her his full attention. Nekozane told him not to tell anyone that she worked there, and Seno said sure. Nekozane explained that their high school did not allow them to work part-time, after all. As she left, she said, "That's all." Suddenly, Seno stopped her by saying, "Ah, wait." Nekozane looked back and asked, "What?" Seno was shocked, wondering why he had stopped her. He thought he needed to say something, anything, but was unsure. Then, with a weird face, he introduced himself, saying he was Minato Seno and nice to meet her. With an embarrassed face, he thought about why he had just done a self-introduction. Nekozane thought for a moment, then pointed her finger at the can and said, "Here." Seno asked, "Eh?" Nekozane smiled and told him to consider it a hush fee, calling him seat neighbor kun. Seno was shocked. The scene shifted to Seno's house, where he was talking with Takada on a phone call. Seno apologized for calling again, but Takada said not to worry about it and asked what was up. Seno explained that Takada got along with people so easily, so he wondered if there was any trick to it. Takada teased him, asking what was going on and noting how unexpected it was for timid Minato-kun. Seno explained that there was someone he was interested in. Takada realized something and asked what kind of guy it was. Seno clarified nervously that it was a girl, saying she liked cats and acted like a cat as well, with pretty big eyes. Takada was surprised and asked if he was really talking about a girl. Seno confirmed and nervously added that she was usually expressionless, but sometimes had a really kind and gentle look. With a gentle expression, Seno said he just had a feeling that he wanted to get to know her more, or maybe become friends if he could. Takada teased him, saying that instead of wanting to be friends, it sounded more like love. Seno gave a weird reaction, saying, Takada said he was not the type to tell kids who believed in Santa the truth, so he would just wait for them to realize it on their own. Seno asked what he was talking about, then said that anyway. First of all, the scene shifted to the school, where Seno was alone in the classroom. Suddenly, Nekozane entered and sat at the side of Seno's bench. Seno greeted her with a weird expression, saying good morning. Nekozane, with a baffled expression, asked who he was. Seno reminded her that he was Minato Seno, as mentioned yesterday. Nekozane responded with, "Eh?" and Seno thought at least she remembered. While adjusting his bag, he told her that there was something he would like to show her. He suddenly remembered Takada's words telling him that, first of all, he needed to say hi and then start a conversation. Seno thought about the conversation and wondered if he could start one by showing this to her. Looking at his bag, he doubted himself, wondering if he would look like a weird person. But he reminded himself to do his best, since nothing would change if he just waited around. Seno finally said that he wanted to show her this and pulled out a picture he had drawn himself. Nekozane, with a weird expression, said, "Eh, what's that? That looks ugly," before going to sleep. Seno thought to himself about whether they could really become friends. He looked at her while thinking that Nekozane sat next to him in class and she was always sleeping, while another boy was trying to wake her up saying, "Wake up already, Nekozane." With an embarrassed face, Seno thought that he wanted to become friends with her. The scene shifted to Seno walking along the school corridor, thinking that he really did not know much about Nekozane because she was so mysterious. Suddenly he stopped, thinking that, come to think of it, what was Nekozane's first name. He wondered if it was rude for him to talk to her without even knowing her name. Continuing to walk, he thought about how he could even find out. He considered asking her but immediately realized there was absolutely no way. Suddenly he looked at the class journal and thought that since Nekozane would definitely write her name when she was on duty, it must be in there. But when he checked, there was only the last name. Seno said, "It's not." Exploring further, he thought that the content was very short, and that would get her scolded. Still, he thought there should be a chance for him to learn her first name if he just kept living life as usual. Then, with a weird expression, he realized there was not. He admitted to himself that they rarely used first names in everyday situations. Suddenly, he saw a cat. While playing with it, he wondered if it was a stray cat. As he touched it, he said that it was friendly. He tried out names like Tama, Mike, and Mugi. When he said Mugi, the cat meowed. Seno was shocked, saying, "Wow, it's answering." Suddenly, Nekozane appeared and looked at them from behind. When Seno realized, he was scared and wondered if she was a ninja. He said it was strange that the cat was friendly despite being a stray. Nekozane explained that it was a Sakura cat, so people in the area probably took care of it from time to time. Seno said, "Sakura?" Nekozane pointed to the cat's ears and explained that its ears were cut like cherry blossom petals, which was why it was called a Sakura cat. Seno, frightened, asked about the cut. Nekozane explained that it was okay because they were anesthetized, so there was no pain. It was a mark that said the cat had been spayed or neutered. She told him that animal protection groups and vets did this to stop them from breeding too much and getting put down. Seno thought about the words "put down" as she continued explaining that people could have as many kids as they wished, but cats were regulated, and it was kind of weird when he thought about it. Seno remarked that sometimes she really went big with her statements. Nekozane looked at him and said that he had used the name Mugi just then. Seno, embarrassed, admitted that he had just named the cat on his own and asked if it was weird. Nekozane said that it was kind of weird. Seno reacted with a strange expression, saying, "I see." Nekozane told him that considering Mugi was her first name, it felt like he was calling her. And that was a bit. Seno glanced at her and apologized, saying that he had made her feel awkward. Nekozane said it was not a big deal. While playing with the cat, she explained that she was just not used to being called by her first name. Seno thought that now he knew Nekozane's first name was Mugi. Suddenly, the cat jumped and ran away. Seno said it had left. Nekozane stood up, and Seno asked if she was going home. She said, "Yep." Seno thought he was happy to know more about Nekozane-san, but she seemed to have no interest in him at all. He felt upset. Suddenly Nekozane said, "See you, Seno-kun." He looked at her surprised and said, "Eh?" Nekozane asked if she had gotten it wrong, asking, "Minato Seno-kun?" Seno, embarrassed, confirmed she was right, saying, I'm Seno." Nekozane said his voice was cracking and walked away. Seno, looking at her, thought that she did remember his name. The scene shifted to the night where Seno was having dinner. A lady asked him if he seemed to be in a good mood today, Minato, and if something nice had happened. Seno, blushing uncomfortably, replied, Why? I'm just being my normal self." The scene shifted, and Seno was walking on the school corridor while thinking that he wanted to befriend his seat neighbor Nekozane. However, Seno wondered what exactly he should do and thought if he should start a conversation, but admitted that he did not have much to talk about. Moreover, Seno thought that Nekozane was always sleeping. While entering the classroom, Seno thought that it was not easy to find the right time to talk. Seno then saw that Nekozane was awake, and she was watching something as well. While looking at her, Seno thought about headphones and wondered if Nekozane was watching a video. Seno thought that this was his chance to talk to her and then asked with a weird face if she was watching a video. Nekozane replied with a weird face that yes. That was the end of the conversation, and Seno sat on his bench while thinking, "Please help me, Takada." Nekozane, while watching the video, said that this was a good way to pass time. Seno looked at Nekozane with stunning eyes and thought happily that she was continuing the conversation. Seno then said if that was so and asked what she was watching, while thinking that it was probably cat videos. Nekozane replied that it was a high-pressure washer. Seno responded with and Nekozane clarified that it was just one of those videos where they clean dirty places with a high-pressure washer. Seno thought about how Nekozane felt when she was watching something like that. While looking at Nekozane with a tense face, Seno thought that if she was willing to drive the conversation forward, then he needed to try. Mumbling with trouble about what to comment, Seno finally said with all his effort that it was rare. Nekozane, without even looking at him, replied yes, and that was the end of the conversation. The scene shifted to Seno's house, where Takada was on the phone call, saying, "Hey, Seno." Seno, while watching the laptop, responded with, "Hmm. Takada asked if Seno was watching something right now, and Seno replied that he was sorry and was just checking out some videos. Takada asked about videos, and Seno explained that it was just a video about cleaning a dirty wall with a high-pressure washer. Takada asked, why? Seno explained that there were all sorts of videos where someone just watched the same thing going on over and over, and that one could get really hooked on watching them. Takada then asked since when Seno had been watching, and Seno, with a frustrated expression, said around 4 hours ago, he guessed. Takada was shocked and asked seriously what was wrong with him, saying, "Seno, is high school really that tough for you?" Seno said that it was not that, but reminded Takada about the girl they had talked about before. Takada reacted with interest and asked how it had gone, saying that was exactly what he wanted to ask. Seno replied with a low face that he totally bombed at keeping the conversation going. Takada responded that it was not going to go smoothly from the start anyway. Seno added that he saw Nekozane watching something like this at school just today, and while keeping his chin on his hand with a thoughtful expression, he said that he thought maybe he could chat with her more next time if he started watching these as well. Seno added that part of it was just because he was quite curious too. Takada told Seno seriously to do his best and that he was rooting for him from the bottom of his heart. Seno, surprised, said, thank you?" Then, Takada added that he would go ahead and say this first, not to waste too much time on it. Seno did not say anything. The scene shifted to the school, where Nekozane was watching videos on her phone while sitting on her bench. Seno greeted her with "Good morning," and Nekozane replied with "Good morning." Seno pulled his chair, and suddenly he looked at Nekozane and said that he had checked out the video she watched before. He explained that the way it showed things becoming beautiful and the feeling of being able to watch it forever, he could not quite put into words. With fake excitement, Seno said that he thought it was really fascinating. Nekozane, with a weird and awkward expression, said, "No, it's not like that." Looking back to her phone, Nekozane explained that she just happened to see it and started watching out of curiosity, and that it was not that interesting. Nekozane then showed videos of cats on her phone, and said that watching cats was way more fun. Seno replied with, "I see," and lost himself in his thoughts, thinking that he had gone and said something off the mark once again, wishing that he could find a hole to crawl into, a really deep one. Suddenly, Nekozane came and sat at the very side of Seno while showing him the video she was watching. Seno was shocked and reacted with, "Huh." Nekozane also said, "Huh," before telling Seno to look at it and explained that it was Shiratama from the other day. Nekozane then put her left earphone in Seno's ear and, while looking at him, said sorry, she forgot to turn on the sound, and asked if he could hear it now. Seno was shocked and replied, while thinking that he could not hear it over the sound of his own heartbeat. Seno then said that he was sorry, his ears were acting up a bit right now. Nekozane, while fixing the earphones of Seno, asked if he was okay. Seno let out a few and thought that her sense of distance was a bit off. Nekozane, with a smile, looked at Seno while showing him a cat on her phone and said to check it out, asking if he did not think she looked adorable there. Seno looked at Nekozane without saying anything, and Nekozane asked if he was watching. Seno replied, "Of course, sorry about that." Nekozane told him there was no need to say sorry. After that, Seno was watching the video on how to clean a mud-covered carpet, and he got hooked on it for a while.